Today, I want to get into RM saying he hates a specific fashion style and brand. I also wanted to get into Jung Kook believed to be getting emotional over the military enlistment date. And then we have rumors of Jung Kook vaping and people saying he hid it. So hey Dumplings, it's Dave Desai. Hey there, and out. Make sure you're subscribed with the notification bell on. Grab your dumplings, he's spilling bug merch, and let's go. Fashion is a big part of the industry, and it's definitely huge among men as well. It's not just women. I'm very surprised when I talk to people how many people think that it's only the women who need to care about how they look, how they dress, and just how they appear on camera. Funny enough, there's plenty of public figures, even political figures, that think it's okay to just hop on camera in front of millions the moment they open their eyes. And then it's ridiculous how much women have to go through in the morning just to get on camera and appear like a quote-unquote acceptable human being. But for men, I think we are starting to see a shift in the industry where a lot of women start to care about how the men they're watching on TV look. Aside from the more shallow part of the human brain, fashion also shows the world what type of artist you are and that you have arrived. A lot of artists, when they first start, especially in K-pop, will almost overdo the bleaching of hair, the outrageous clothes, and flashy jewelry. This is all to gain attention. Once the artist has attention, it almost becomes too overdone and unnecessary. At that point, it's more important to be understated and elegant. RM talked about this during an interview, that he used to dress more loudly as Rap Monster and wear more baggy clothes and now prefers something more quiet. The interviewer even went on to say that since he went from Rap Monster to RM, would RM ever consider using his real name more, Namjoon? RM went on to say that he would prefer that most people didn't know his real name for privacy reasons. He would prefer to check into a hotel as Namjoon and not have the staff freak out or stalk his room. For a lot of these reasons, him dressing more quietly and timelessly is a big thing. The interviewer also went on to talk about a brand that RM is in love with lately. RM said that he is totally over all the name brands. He did not drop any names, but he's likely referring to brands like Gucci and all those sorts of brands. The ones that are very in your face. Because the whole idea of buying Gucci and Chanel is to let other people know that you bought those brands. And I don't particularly think the quality of those brands are always there. Sometimes, but not always. The interviewer asked that since RM has bought a lot of the brand Bottega Veneta, I probably butchered that. This is an Italian brand and it's a very high-end brand. There's a list of like maybe 10 brands or so that are for the super high wealthy. These are brands that focus on quality and being timeless rather than trends. They don't care if the mass public doesn't like the style because it's not for the mass, just the rich. And real rich people don't buy things just because it's thousands of dollars. Rich people buy things because they can, is what everyone says. Those are posers, not real rich people. Real rich people buy things that are actually good. So even if it's a tiny shop in the middle of nowhere that is selling a bag for $3, a rich person is more likely to buy that if it's good quality than go to a not so good bag at Louis Vuitton or whatever. So Bottega doesn't have logos everywhere. They're not super well known and don't follow trends. Hermes actually was one of those brands before. In terms of quality, Hermes is still there, but in terms of them being a more niche and only known by the rich brand is no longer true. So RM talked about loving Bottega's style and would consider being the face of Bottega one day. It's very interesting to hear RM talk about brands very candidly and talk about hating dressing like how he used to or no longer feel connected to that old self. And it's very important that we see this growth in RM too. Maybe when he was younger, he did feel like he needed those name brands all plastered on him, but now he feels like he has nothing to prove and can just relax. Jung Kook is actually doing the same thing too, and it seems like he is currently live streaming and having fun without feeling like he needs to hide anything or cover anything up. He has really been candid about showing his apartment and his life. You can obviously tell a lot about a person based on how their apartment looks and what they have in it. It also seems like there isn't a staff heavily monitoring him and telling him what he can and can't do. So the streams feel a lot more authentic and true to himself. Recently, he hopped on a stream and started talking to ARMY. He got a bit emotional, which I want to get into more in a bit, but there was something that a lot of ARMYs felt like Jung Kook was hiding. So what happened here? Jung Kook was having fun in his apartment and he hopped on 3 separate streams. He did the first one and ended it, and then came on the stream with an entire new outfit and everything. He did that another time after the second time, and he came on with a beanie. Jung Kook was styling his own hair and outfit, and everyone loved it. When he turned it on, Jung Kook very quickly noticed everything that was in the frame, including what appeared to people to be a vape. Jung Kook very casually, allegedly noticed said vape and just pushed it out of the shot. And as he did it, he was just settling in and moving other things around, so it just appeared like he was clearing the table so people could get a better view of him. This was probably the best move, as if he had much of a reaction like, oh no, then armies would have caught it sooner, but it seemed like the incident caused headlines anyway, so I guess there's no escaping that. People actually ended up finding the vape that they believed he had. At first, I didn't think it was a vape because I had never seen a vape that looked like that, but the argument saying that if it was, and then people finding the vape that looked similar is interesting. People were split down the middle. There were definitely people who were okay with this. He is an adult, and it's definitely not a big deal if he were to smoke or vape or do whatever he wants. People believe Taeyang smokes, and maybe Jung Kook picked up the habit from Taeyang. Other people do not believe it's a vape, since Jung Kook had previously talked about how against he is of his father smoking, so why would he? But who knows? But the thing I want to address are the people who are upset if it was in fact a vape. I'm going to be very honest about my feelings here, and if it offends you, then so be it. And whether it was or not him smoking, I do not give a flying duck. That's like telling me that before he went outside, he put on socks. Like, that's how boring that news is to me, if he was in fact smoking. But there's been people saying that they hate how BTS has become lately, and that they don't like BTS's attitude lately. For example, the quote-unquote problematic people that the members are working with, or just them being more open about being shirtless, or allegedly smoking, tattoos, or cursing, or the idea of them dating. Just doing normal people things. I just want to say what I've always said. You do not know the members personally. These crazy fans put these fake images in their head about who the boys are, and then fantasize about them being someone who would cry if they stood next to someone who said a curse word. It's not realistic, and it's not what 99% of the population does. Most people have vices. They smoke, they drink, or curse. They date. Most of us probably also have people in our friend circle that are a little like, why are we friends with them? Or that friend may say some problematic things, but you know they're a good person deep down, so you keep them around. So to act like BTS members were not human and they were just imported from Mars and they fit in this innocent bubble so much is so beyond ridiculous. If you ever watch BTS either during interviews, old shows, or reality shows, you'd very quickly see the boys are adults, human beings, and they have vices just like everyone else. If you do want to catch up and watch those, make sure to join me on Patreon. I will link it below. We currently have a limited $1 tier that is still open, so hope to see you there. The stream also went on where people felt like Jung Kook was actually crying. People were saying that Jung Kook was getting emotional when it was rearing towards the end of the stream. Jung Kook said that he wanted to say goodbye and said that he wouldn't be able to do this forever, implying that he might not be around forever, or implying the military enlistment is coming up so he can't live stream as much at that point. People got emotional and rumored that Jung Kook had gotten the military date soon, and that is why he's crying or getting really soft. He ended up asking armies to type in the chat Apol Bangpo, which is translated from Korean to English as Bangtang forever. It's very interesting to end the stream like that, then to end it by simply saying I will see you soon. So of course this got armies suspicious as to what is going on here. People had also asked Jung Kook on the stream before this why he was crying. Jung Kook got silent after a little bit, and then it appeared like his eyes were watering a bit and nose was running. Of course, people think that he is going through something, and it's hard for him to deal with all the enlistment news or whatever it may be. But the comments began to be flooded with people consoling him, and Jung Kook actually responded to say that he was not crying and that everyone was overanalyzing him, and then continued to say that he was just reading the comments and actually just had a cold, which would explain the runny nose and watery eyes. I think we as ARMY, we definitely need to trust Jung Kook's words. If he is saying that he is okay, then believe him. The members are usually pretty open and honest about their feelings and what they're going through. If not now, they are eventually, so we will hear about everything very soon if there's anything that is worth hearing about. I don't think he has a military date yet. I think he still has an album to do first, but I could be wrong. There could still be this idea that he doesn't want to do a solo album, who knows. And I think the can't do this forever thing he said implies that he won't be as active live streaming, which would be understandable if he was touring and promoting his solo music. Now let me know what you think. Make sure you check out my Patreon for more videos. videos linked down below. Thanks to this lovely comment right here. Love you. Bye.